And here we are for our last sessions of this CYSAT 2025. I am pleased to welcome now on stage Mr. Alessandro Massa, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Leonardo. Mr. Massa, you will tell us more about space and the urgency of cybersecurity.
Yeah, right. So thank you very much for the invitation, for the opportunity to stay here with you and share our thoughts about the two really important topics about the cybersecurity and the space together. We try to stress these two domains in the presentation, try to give you our overlook and idea about how we can try to face with these challenges, and try to overcome with these challenges. Just to go a little deeper, maybe you already know our company, we are very active in the defense and security market, but let me just give a short focus on our space activities. Just in the last months, we reorganized our activity in the space domain. As you know, we are really focused on integrated services, focused on the manufacturing, verticalization manufacturing, the exploration and the navigation, and also observation. That is really something that we already perform and done in our portfolio, mainly working on different kind of applications. As you can see here, we work in orbit servicing. That is something new, space domain awareness. So all of us, we know the needs that we have in terms of capability to have a situational awareness regarding the space domain. Is something so complex, made from the ground, but also for the space segment is something that is really relevant. We adding some new concept regarding the cloud in space. So just to support, we will see in the presentation the new activity of exploration. We need to try to go in the space also with this capability. At the end, as we will see in the presentation, the secure and quantum communication is a really active and relevant topic in which we are involving and we are developing our technology. As I mentioned, we move in the value proposition at a different level, system, solution, and services. So we are able to create all kind of technology from systems, ground segment and space segments. Also thanks to our partners of the Space Alliance, not only in the Leonardo. We're talking about Thales and Telespazio, that is our partners in this activity. Equipment and payloads with specific equipments and payloads for scientific, for Earth observation with high resolution, and the cybersecurity that is part of my actual role. I'm the CTO of the cybersecurity division, so we are involved in a completely new task of the group to spread the cyber division also in a space domain. You will see in the lower part of the chart some of the technology, that we use in our portfolio. You can see HPC, because we are moving this concept from the ground to the space. The cloud, we see in the presentation the approach that we are thinking, and the AI, that is a general broad term, also just a common word, that buzzword that we use every day, but we will see something specific on space domain. To go in the topic of the presentation, I tried to report here the actual context of the space domain in really sketch and high-level draft, but can help us to enter in the presentation and go deeper in applying this concept and then understand, analyze each single point. We know very well the point that we are standard ground station and space segment that they have to communicate, to exchange data based on their mission, and on this part is a standard supply chain and standard way in which we can correlate the information exchanging between ground station and satellite. Relying on this connection, based maybe from one or more satellites, we can see space advanced services. So we reported some of these services there. That is an important part taking to the value on the activity of the satellite at the ground station. This is a, let me say, traditional flavor, a standard application that all of us already know. Based on that, the vision is to work on a different environment. You can see in the center of the chart the space cloud, or what we call computing services on space, that is specific computing and storage capability directing in orbit that can support different tasks and reducing the time to share and move information from one side to other. We added the other constellation that is completely and fully focused on mission-based, so we can create a specific constellation, interacting with them and creating added value service using small satellite in different orbits and try to communicate each other to reach high value services. And at the last part and the top part of the chart, you can see the new frontier of exploration. It's not new, but it's something which we are beginning to talk to support a long trip in the space and supporting also the capability to support these missions with our actual capability. You can see logistics, because for this kind of mission we have to rely on a specific reparation configuration of the asset, so we talked about in-orbit servicing, and the capability to support the long-range communication, data valorization and data consumption. So this is a standard way in which we are seeing now the context, and based on that we go deeper in the cyber threat in this context. Maybe you already heard during these 2 days a lot of cyber threats and attacks. We reported at high level the most important, the most common, just to share that this kind of attacks and models of threat can be attack our facility everywhere during the operation. Starting from the ground station, you can see here the true and valid and trust ground station talking with a satellite that could be intercepted and with a specific flying object at a different orbits that can intercept the signal and put what in the cyber is called the man-in-the-middle attack, creating a specific traffic to bring or the target or the ground station in a specific way. That could be a virus infection, Trojan, malware, common takeover. So this is a standard way in which the attacker usually try to enter. As you know, the communication channel is for sure secure, but there is a lot of technique, and this is a specific point which we have to work, and we are working a lot. Regarding the signal that brings...
Wait, we have...
Okay. Come back. Regarding the means, so the radio frequency means that bring information and data on the satellite segment, we can for sure face with electronic interference, satellite jamming. This is a standard mainly in a defense application, but it's not so uncommon when we want to try to at least deny the use of the space segment or try to enter in a specific part of the protocol. So it's a standard attack using radio frequency. Regarding the ground station, you can see here we reported what we call the rogue ground station, but mainly is a ground station not trusted, not valid, that could be used to interact with the satellite for different purposes. Here we reported only two, that is laser interference with maybe some navigation system on board, or take the control with the command and control interface of the system on the space segment. So this is part of all the segment between ground and space segment. Regarding the ground station and the network connected, we can apply here all the topics standard with the cybersecurity of the network, also enlarging and reaching the concept, taking into consideration the cloud that now we are using for supporting and to enable our data valorization on the ground. So here the topic is so big, but you can understand that I can enter, for example, using a specific vulnerability on a server that now is common to find everywhere on the web, on the full and the dark web. We can enter in a specific part of the cloud, and then we can reach up to the space segment. We have a lot of literature and real use case. Today morning I heard right statistics about 300 attacks in the last 2 years. This is a number that should be really impressive. You have to take into account when we talk about the cyber threats and the cyber domain. The last point regarding end user. So as usual, we can enter and attack the network from the end user point of view. And this is the standard attack when we talk about phishing, when we talk about enter using on the trust of the user, using their device to enter in the network. The last point that is really interesting, that is now a common part of integrated cybersecurity, is regarding the supply chain. On the supply chain, here the topics is very big, but let me just stress one point, that we have to control the supply chain. We will see in the remediation what we propose, but the important is to have an integrated control about their cyber resilience and try to control and give to them a governance, because mainly we are talking a small and medium enterprise with not so big capacity in terms of money and also technical capacity to support the needs that we have to protect the overall figure in the design and the manufacturing of our assets. So just to go a little deeper, this is a so full chart, but let me try to explain and share with you the major points. We reported here all the possible cyber threat mitigation in the previous explained the space environment. We can start for the space segment. You can see a lot of communality in the space segment, from the logistic exploration for the constellation, space, cloud, and satellite. We are reporting mainly the needs to have an agent or probe on board able to control the digital operation of the asset. That is a standard way to control the endpoint in the standard cybersecurity. This is a concept that should be put and inserted in a standard space segment architecture. In some cases, we reported here the AI security, because in the future we are foreseeing, but we are already using this kind of technology directly attached to the data source. So the needs to use the right AI model, we will see specifically in the next chart how. But we have to have the right data model. We have to maintain the control and monitoring of the AI models directly and also on the endpoint. This is really important. Regarding specific part of mission, you can see in the constellation the intra-satellite link protection. That is a must-have with a lot of protection of the data in transit among satellites of the constellation. We reported also confidential computing on the space cloud service space segment. So we have to apply this kind of technology, maybe because we can rely on infrastructure, space segment infrastructure that is not under our control, and we have to enter in this kind of concept, adding the concept of cloud security on space. That is something completely new, because we are able to do this kind of protection on ground, but when we talk to bring this technology on space segment, it's really important to focus and try to apply, and how we can apply this technology on the space segment. Coming down on the chart and also on the data, that moving from the space segment to the down segment, you can see the link protection is a must. We reported a different technology approach that we can follow. We reported the PQC, standard crypto, and we know a lot of technology that could be tailored and best fitted for SATCOM communication, and plus TT&C communication directly from the satellite to the ground. We reported QKD because it's something that we are investigating and studying, enabling this technology, exchanging the key, also using a standard cryptographic algorithm between the two endpoints. On the ground segment, you can see at least the supply chain that we already mentioned before is really important to begin to work in an integrated way with them, supporting them with a specific and very tailored cyber threat intelligence, so the capability to know the technology, remain focused and analyze the common vulnerability that will be discovered in the future, try to understand the impact. They have to enter in a standard cyber resilience design and development and production of their system. We need physical security in some case, but what is important is integrate the supply chain also with their network inside the manufacturing network of an integrator. You can begin to think about a specific platform integrator should be continuously integrated with their supply chain, also from the cyber security point of view. On the other side, you can see we reported also for the cloud and data services, talking about space advanced services. We have to rely on very well-proven and secure connection among all the actors and enabling the capability to process the data, creating information, and then have the clear situational awareness about the cybersecurity. This is a lot of, this picture is really impressive in terms of number of technology, is really impressive in terms of, for me, a lacking now of integration, because we are talking at a different level. Maybe we have to improve this kind of integration and try to understand how and where we have to put the focus in the common operational picture of the cyber threat and cyber situational awareness of the system. Let me now go a little deeper to share with you some very practical and use cases that we are facing, that we are developing. Already mentioned before, we are launching our own constellation of different 20 multi-sensor satellites, as you can see here, with a different payload, SAR and optical one, with also a service and edge computing side. Why I reported here today? Because this is a test bench, a real test bench in which we can integrate what I mentioned before. So we are talking about a satellite with a specific sensor that should be protected from the space segment side. We are talking about a specific service satellite that have to support the computing part. You can see here with the HPC node storage server, so we need technology there. We will have an inter-satellite link that should be protected with a lot of technique and take into consideration also the specific technical feature of the ESL. And at the end, we have to talk and bring all the data at the ground, as I mentioned before, with a specific ground segment that could be customer base or our ground segment. We should have data processing enhanced with real HPC on ground. So a lot of data enhancing and exchanging information. What we need in this case, we are now working precisely on that. We need end-to-end data encryption from the beginning, from the source up to the destination, the valorization, and the customer, taking into account this long chain. So the full control of secure data management. This is for sure a trust point in which we are working a lot, and also the capability to enable the system architecture from the beginning, insert all the concepts that I mentioned in the previous slide inside specific system architecture. Let me just stress another point I mentioned again before regarding the AI. It's clear that for AI now we are living an hype about these topics. Everyone talk about this technology. I'm here today just to stress one point on this technology. We have to use when we need really, let me say in this way, in the real way. But let me stress the point that we need to begin to talk about the security of this asset. No? You know that 3 months ago, NIST released the first taxonomy of the cyber threat and cyber attacks on AI. They really classified a lot of possible attacks on AI artifacts, model, and networks, relying on models, networks, and data. So what we need also is valid in general, but is for me valid specifically on the space segment. We have to know very well what we are putting in the space. We have to well characterize the model models, the network, the possible attack, the capability that the model has. Let me give you an example. Is the model has in continuous training phase, the attacker can use this capability to polarize the models and change the behavior of the model. So we are creating a framework, and we will supply to our customer the certification and the characterization of all models and networks regarding the attacks and the cybersecurity. And as I mentioned before, we have to continuous monitoring the security during lifetime using a specific technique. The other two important points, I don't want to go through all points, but the data quality, this is another relevant point. Everyone know very well about the data quality. The data is the oil of the models, but the full characterization of the data that has been used for the training is a must. Specifically for the space application, we should be really focused on that and give to the customer the confidence that they can use the model that has been completely designed and trained for their purpose. The last point is regarding the industrialization. Up to now, we have to move from the POC phase in the real industrialization phase of this technology. As the big player, technological player that work in this field, we have to create, we are using a specific AI factory that is able to design, develop, and put in production, deploy the model and control the model and do the production during the whole phase of the life cycle, because this is the only way to maintain the performance. This is true for predictive technique or generative technique. When we talk about security for generative technique, I'm talking about large language model. It's clear that we have to well define the concept because it's not easy. It's not easy because mainly we are relying, all of us, we are relying on closed models. Instead, in open models, we have a lot of difficulty, technical challenges that we have to try now to resolve. This is important. I'm stressing this concept because in space, in the future, we will bring a lot of this technology, and we have to begin now to work in the right way in this direction. Last point is regarding the other concept that I stressed regarding the cyber operation. So I'm talking here mainly on the defensive operation, so the capability to connect and collect all data. This is a standard activity of all security operations center. Analyze the data with different technique, with the security operator, with the AI, as you can see, with the business intelligence. So different techniques. So we should have one place in which we are able to have all data, and we are able to analyze the data, predict some weakness or vulnerabilities, and first, the most important, to manage the incident. So the capability to aggregate data coming from CM, SOC, and NOC is really important. For the space operation, we should define a cyber operation center dedicated, fully dedicated for this mission, able to then georeference or give the position of the asset, give the status of operation of the asset, the state of compromission of the asset, and allow the operator to interact with the asset to respond to each single vulnerability, criticality. This is really important. We are motivating using a concept that is standard in defense and security, that is command and control. C2 is the stand for command and control, and this is a must in this kind of operation. We have to shift the concept of the only security operation center in the real cyber operation in the cyber domain. Just to conclude, let me try to wrap up what I mentioned up to now. As we reported, we have a lot of needs around the space context. So we have for sure the capability to work in all 5 NIST phases around the space asset, the threat intelligence, the communication security, the digital infrastructure that now is emerging and increasing the capability, the asset protection and resilience from the beginning. We talked this morning a lot with some of you regarding the needs to begin to talk about cybersecurity from the beginning, and most important part, working on the legacy assets that we already deployed. So this is always a challenge based on customer needs, based on budget, but it's something that is really important. So to conclude and try to wrap up, the cyber resilience is important. The protection of IoT, OT infrastructure, mainly in the ground space segment, is a challenge, not so much for the ground station, for the ground segment, but mainly also for the space segment, because it's a new concept that we have to insert in a different configuration and flavor. The security of the cloud that will begin an enabler for our application is also an enabler today, but will become an enabler also in the space segment. The capability to monitor and global monitoring, so the integration of these all capability together in a specific center that should be fully dedicated to control all the assets that we reported, grab the data, analyze the data, and give the common overview about the space asset in general. So this is the main point that we see and that we want to share with you. I talked a lot about technologies. We have not time now to go deeper in the detail, but we are here, we are around, and we are free to receive your question in case of needs. Thank you very much for the listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Massa. I invite you to come over here and take a microphone. We have questions from the room, but before we share them, when it comes to securing AI for a space application, I understand we cannot dig too deep into the technicalities, but still, you mentioned that Leonardo has a framework that helps in this aim, and that you continue to monitoring. Perhaps you can tell us more about this framework. And also, when it comes to predictive and generative techniques, you mentioned challenge that needed to be that you need to overcome. What are these specifically?
Yes. Okay, regarding the framework, just to share with you, we are applying the classical cybersecurity approach. So we have what we call automatic red teaming, based on AI itself, that is able to try to attack the model and the dataset. So based on the NIST taxonomy, they try to attack the model to see the resilience of the model and prepare and try to detect in a standard way the vulnerability and the possible entry point to the models and the dataset. Based on that, we go in the what we call blue phase, blue teaming, that is a remediation phase. Analyze the weakness, you are able to understand how you can make and create a more resilient, robust model. So we have a lot of technique. This is mainly human-based activity to create something that more robust resilience. And overall, we are able to certify, run the test again and certify the model. So we are able to give to the customer a certification against the possible known threat, already known threat. And that's for sure it's an increased value for them. So this is all based mainly on automatic tasks, as standard in the cybersecurity, you know, the VIPT, the vulnerability assessment penetration test, reported in AI. You can think like that. On the, let me say, generative part, so the large language model, the issue is really complex because, as you know, we are talking about AI model that is so large. We talked about 1 billion parameters size, and they're talking about explainability, robustness is not so easy without the use of the designer of the models, and also the technology now is up and running. So on the generative part, the challenge is bigger. Let me say, in the space domain, I'm seeing a lot of predictive technique. That is a good news from the security point of view. The generative one will be something that we can use more on the ground segment instead on the space segment.
Thank you very much. We have one question from Pierre Codis. He asks, thank you, Pierre. Mr. Massa, do you see PQC crypto adoption only suitable for new programs or also suitable for existing retrofit?
Yes, okay. As I mentioned before, what we are observing in general on the cybersecurity topic is the very well known and possible to adopt in a new project, from scratch. I mentioned the Constellation, that is a very good test bed to test new technology, insert, perform trade-off analysis. So this is easier. You can begin to reserve budget for this activity. On the retrofit, for me, we have to think about a certain concept of the crypto agility. This could be very good because we can begin to prepare the ground with this new technology in a way in which we can change the cryptography algorithm directly on flight based on specific condition of the system. The PQC for sure is a must. We know very well in the ground domain is something that we need, and on the space is something that is evaluating due to mainly the constraints that we have to run and to migrate the actual context of the cryptographic algorithms.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. If someone in the audience has a question, he or she can share it on Connects Me. I have one. So you have 15 years of experience in the field, and previously you were in charge of Leonardo Labs, where you've been involved in high-risk exploratory research. Here, during these 2 days, we've been talking a lot of applying space tech to other sectors, but also to bring the space innovation from other sectors. And since you led interdivisional research, I wanted to know more about Leonardo's contribution to breaking silos.
Just giving back to my previous experience, this was our task, our goal there was to create a corporate central labs, just to exchange from the low TRL, low technical readiness level of maturity, the technology and the trend. No? Also because this is the only way in which we can support and our division in this kind of high risk, high return activity. The silos from technological point of view can be removed and the work could be removed directly if we work in a common roadmap, let me say, sharing the needs, sharing the capability and put together all the capabilities on the table, human resources, computing resources and other activities. We have a lot of field of the researches, so remember in the labs we have up to now 8 research areas active with around 200 researchers involved that we are able to exploit and use their contribution in our products and technology in all product portfolio of the Leonardo Group.
Thank you very much. We can give you a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presence.